Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Kimon Hatza and I'm a business attorney at GrowthCounsel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're a boutique corporate transactional practice representing clients across industries. I focus my practice in the areas of life sciences and technology. Tonight, we're continuing our series on life sciences leaders. Before we get started, I'd like to remind our viewers that from time to time, financial issues relating to life sciences or technology matters or companies may be discussed on the show. These discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since the show is pre-recorded and shown at a later time, the information may no longer be current. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. I'm happy to have with me as my co-host this evening, Charlie Huntington. Charlie is the head of public relations for Life Sciences PA. Life Sciences PA is the voice of advancement for the life sciences in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Charlie, thank you for co-hosting this evening.
It's a pleasure, Kimon.
Charlie, I was wondering if you could share with our viewers perhaps some recently held and some upcoming events being sponsored or hosted by Life Sciences PA.
Thanks for the opportunity to do that, Kimon. So earlier in June, Life Sciences PA had its tailgate. This was the second one they've done. The first one was in the middle of COVID. It was a smash hit. They did it again this year. There were over 900 people registered to attend the event, and I think more than that showed up if the crowd was any indication. There were food trucks. There was a way, as we're on hopefully the tail end of COVID, there was a very safe way for us all to mix and meet and rekindle old friendships and make new friendships. So it was an absolute blast, and it really shows how great of an organization Life Science and how necessary the organization Life Sciences PA is. They are now in their new headquarters over in King of Prussia in the old GlaxoSmithKline site. It's a really neat space. So I hope many of our viewers can get over there and see that in the coming years. I want to highlight a few events that are coming up. First of all, Life Sciences PA has a double hitter baseball game, and a sort of to put quotes on. This is an organization that's not only for Southeastern PA but for Pittsburgh. You have your choice of going to either a Pirates game or a Phillies game. That's going to be held on the 30th of June. The Phils play the Braves at 6:05. And the Pirates play the Brewers at 7:05. So I don't know, in the spirit of Live Aid, I don't know if you're going to try to attend both of those events, Kimon, but it should be a sight to behold at either ballpark, and it promises to be a great night of life science fellowship. In July, specifically the 19th to the 21st, Life Sciences PA is holding their MedTech conference. And then in October, the 6th and 7th, they're holding their BioPharm conference. Both those are can't miss events. We hope to see everybody there.
Well, thanks, Charlie. That sounds great. I am a diehard Phillies fan, but I've been to that stadium in Pittsburgh, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So I don't think you can go wrong either way.
No, you can't. You can't.
Well, we have a terrific guest this evening, as you know, and I'm anxious to bring her out. But before I do, I just wanted to tell our viewers that if you have a question that you would like us to answer on a future show, watch this short video to see how you do it.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
It is my great pleasure now to introduce our special guest for this evening, Dr. Maureen Mulvihill. Dr. Mulvihill is the president, CEO, and founder of Actuated Medical, a product innovator that uses electronically controlled motion to develop medical devices for research and clinical use. Founded in 2006, these devices solve unmet clinical needs in target markets, for example, in gastroenterology, oncology, critical care, and pediatrics. Prior to founding Actuated Medical, she served as chief research scientist and program manager at Zenetics Inc. in Devon, Massachusetts, and as director of research and development at Micromechatronics, MEC, in State College, Pennsylvania. Dr. Mulvihill is the Life Sciences PA 2020 CEO of the Year and has been recognized over 35 times nationally and internationally for her entrepreneurial leadership. She earned her bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees from the Pennsylvania State University. Maureen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
I know that you were not involved specifically in the life sciences in the early part of your career. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what led to your shift or transition in focus.
Oh, sure. So actually, about 15, 16 years ago, I was sitting in a doctor's office at Hershey Medical Center. And at the time, I was working for a company that had little motion devices, little actuators, but the size of a grate of rice. And I was talking to the doctor about these motors, and he's like, that's not what I need. I need the whole system FDA cleared because my patient only has 6 hours or that blood clot's going to cause brain damage in my patient. So I went back and I said to my boss, we need to do medical systems, not just motion devices. And he's like, that's not what I want to do. And I'm like, well, that's what I want to do. So I went home and I said to my husband, either we're starting a company or we're moving because there's something we can do here to help patients.
That's great. How would you say that your early experience at Zenetics and at MEC helped prepare you, I guess, to be both a founder and CEO of your own company?
So at Zionetics, I learned about program management, keeping a budget, keeping a schedule, those kind of things. But I also learned about the Small Business Innovation Research Program. So it's a federal program that funds high-tech innovation. So these are grants and contracts you submit to DOD or NIH or NSF or any of these about 11 different agencies. So at Zionetics, I learned how you can build a company using non-dilutive capital. And at Micromechatronics, I was the first employee. I was the ground floor employee, and I learned about how you set up a startup. Working with the lawyers, working with the accountants. How do you do the first hires and things like that? So really, both of those companies gave us the foundation for Actuated Medical.
That's great. What would you say is the most difficult part of your day-to-day job as CEO of the company?
I would say medical devices cost a lot of money to develop and it takes a long time. So working capital, the capital you need to bring a product from concept all the way to the market. And then once you're in the market, it requires a lot of capital. So our biggest issue, and I think most startups and most small companies are going to give you the same answer, it's working capital to get your product to the market.
Okay.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Can you tell us about Actuated Medical, please? Its products, its services?
Oh, so Actuated was founded about 15 years ago on the idea of putting motion into medicine. So we're a bunch of engineers and scientists, and we really focus on putting electronically controlled motion into devices to improve patient outcomes. The first product we got to the market is a device called the Tube Clear system. And Tube Clear clears feeding tubes while the tube remains in the patient. So it's a critical care device. But also using that motion, we have a device in development for pediatrics where we're vibrating the heel. We're reducing the pain for neonates during the heel stick. So we vibrate the heel before they give they take the blood draw. And
Mhm.
in that, we're reducing the pain. So everything we do revolves around putting motion into medicine.
And so, why is Actuated Medical in this business?
Oh, I think I have this incredible team that loves coming to work, and we love the idea of improving patient outcomes. And I can tell a little story about COVID. So we had a doctor who called us, and he had a patient whose tube was clogged for 8 days. So that patient wasn't getting food or medication. We overnighted the system. We trained him. 2 hours later, he emailed and said we saved that patient from surgery, and that's why we do what we do. It's all about improving patient outcomes.
Incredible outcome, incredible
Mhm.
story.
Yeah.
So, what is the company's main area of focus and expertise?
Well, our main focus is the tube clear system is we clear artificial tubes that are in the body. So medical tubes clog often, and our technology, our know-how, we can clear those tubes without having to remove the tubes. And then we also have intellectual property that surrounds vibrating needles for tissue penetration. And just within the last 2 years, we've come to know that our knowledge or know-how on how to put these needles into tissue is helping brain researchers put implants into the brain with less damage. So it's all about vibrating needles or clearing tubes, is really where our focus is.
Okay. So, do you all have proprietary IP?
So far we have 38 issued patents. I think probably 30 are in the US and 7 are international patents. For all the startups out there listening to us right now, we actually use a blocking strategy for our patents where we get a patent in the US, the UK, Germany, and for one of our GI devices, Japan too. So we can't do the whole world as a small company, we can't afford it, but we really do a strategy on our IP.
Okay. So, at what stage of development is the company's technology, Maureen?
So the company's more of a product developer. We're an innovator. And so our first product I mentioned, Tube Clear, it's on the market already. We're in 9 hospitals. We have thousands of uses with the device. And then our next product, NeuroGlider, is a research tool, and we're in about 15 different laboratories across the country right now. If there wasn't a chip shortage, we'd probably be in some more. But and then we have probably about 10 products that are in development right now that are focused in putting that motion to improving outcomes.
How about FDA approval for any of your current products? Do you need that? And then how about FDA for approval for what's coming in your pipeline?
Oh, great question. So the Tube Clear system actually has 6 FDA clearances that surround it. We went to the FDA with the first indication, went back with a different indication, went back with another. And so we keep expanding the portfolio so we can service more and more feeding tubes. So right now we are FDA cleared for adults for most tubes out there. But we have 2 clinical studies in 2 pediatric hospitals working on getting the data for the pediatric indication for Tube Clear. For the NeuroGlider, it's a research tool, so it doesn't require FDA, but the ultimate goal will be to get into the clinic. And so we have a pending IDE probably in the next 2 years. The other products in development, we do a lot of pre-submissions with the FDA, talking to the FDA, looking for the path, the best path for our devices. And so we interact a lot with the FDA. And so, yes, there's 2 510Ks for 2 different devices at the end of this year scheduled out.
Best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Do you anticipate any other uses for your technology?
Oh, it's really funny. So when you talk about tube clear and you're clearing tubes, there's lots of tubes out there that clog. One of the big things that somebody came to us one time about when they make beer, the tubes start clogging up, and can we use tube clear to clear those lines so that the beer lines are clear? So that's actually one of those interesting side things that we're thinking about. But we know that NeuroGlider right now we're using in the research realm, and we know that it'll work in the clinical realm. So really the focus for NeuroGlider is to get the safety data for the FDA submissions so that we can go for the IDE and then get the clinical indications. So that's kind of
Seems
where
like
we're
a
at with
great strategy.
yeah.
Maureen, I'm going to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the need for capital. And you are absolutely right. For many of our guests on the show who are CEOs of startup companies have talked about, the lifeblood of the company and how it seems like even after they close the financing, they're looking for the next round of
Right.
money. It's difficult for early stage companies, particularly those that have like a long run, to get to market with their idea. That being said, could you talk a little bit about how the company is financed currently and what your plan is for financing and growing the company down the line?
Sure. So up to this point, Actuate has done a lot with the non-dilutive capital. So those are the small business innovation research grants from NIH and NSF and DoD. That's really funded our base intellectual property development, the early feasibility studies, getting those products up to about the FDA. But we also have some product sales. TubeClear has some sales. NeuroGlider has some sales. But we also have done a lot with like Ben Franklin, which is Pennsylvania Economic Development, has invested in us early on in 2007, 2008. We've done a lot with little micro grants. We've done a lot with contract services. And so during COVID, we actually did a pivot. And with that pivot, we started doing face shields. And we realized, it was a nice revenue stream to help, we'll say, the bottom line. And so now we're starting to do contract development for other companies. We're being very specialized in what we're doing because there's lots of people out there that are doing product development. We're very specialized in using it, making sure it's in our core competency. But we really have focused on diverse revenue streams to keep the company going. But that being said, we are seeking our first our first seed round, our first equity round. We're in process of putting that together right now.
Okay. Are there competitive products currently
Mhm.
in use in your industry, or are the products that you have developed and are developing unique and unchallenged?
I think that's a great investor question. When an investor says, what's your competition? Who's your competition? And you got an entrepreneur who says, I don't have any. Well, there's always competition. And so if we just use TubeClear as our example, so really clearing feeding tubes, the way nurses have been doing it for 50 years is our competition. And the way nurses have been doing it for 50 years is you have a syringe full of warm water and you try to clear the tube, or they put Coca-Cola down there, or they put meat tenderizer down there. I had a sales rep used to call it voodoo medicine. But anyway, it really doesn't work that well. But that's what we're competing against because those avenues are 50 cents or $1, but our innovation is $100. And so it's really what we try to explain when we're talking to clinicians or we're talking to hospitals about our technology is we're not talking about the cost of point of care. We're talking about the cost of the continuum of care. By keeping that feeding tube open, then you're delivering the medication, nutrition, hydration on schedule so the patients can heal or get better faster. But in the fact of TubeClear being much more effective than that water or much more effective than the Coca-Cola is really what it is. We're really trying to talk to people about the return on investment or the continuum of care and how we're less expensive if you cover the cost of that entire episode.
Other than what the nurses do, I guess, out of necessity
Right.
over the years, is there anybody that is currently producing a product similar to yours?
So there's a couple companies out there that have brushes, and those brushes only service short tubes. So TubeClear's indicated from 8 inches all the way to 55 inches, and those short tubes are going from about 8 inches to 14. And so we can service the whole range with the TubeClear system, but the brushes only can do that short area. There's also an enzyme treatment out there that only is indicated for the protein, and most of these tubes are being clogged with medication, and so it's not indicated to clear the medication, where TubeClear goes into the tube and mechanically breaks it up and goes from the proximal end to the distal end.
Okay. What would you say are the biggest barriers to entry into your industry?
Oh, everyone talks about regulatory being difficult and reimbursement being difficult, but for a small business, selling into hospitals is really difficult. Every hospital has a different mission, every hospital has a different process, every hospital has a value analysis committee. And so, for a small company, when you enter the hospital, first you have to explain who you are because they have no idea who you are because you're a small company. And then once you explain to them who you are and you're good people and you have a good product, then you have to find your physician champion. You have to get all the credentialing you need. So it's really getting into hospitals and selling into hospitals is a really difficult thing.
Mhm. What would you say success, looking down the road, what would success look like for Actuated Medical?
Well, I told the story about the patient whose tube was clogged for 8 days, and what a great day it was for us when that doctor said, "Hey, that patient avoided surgery." I mean, that's a great day. We would love to have more great days like that. And the way that works for us is each of our technologies are acquired by a medical company that's in the market that has market share and really exponentially gets our products to patients so that we can have more great days knowing that we help so many patients.
That's great.
I just have visions of the patient coming to and seeing the Coca-Cola and the meat
The meat
tenderizer and the
tenderizer.
chimney cleaning kit. Yeah, or whatever else the competition may bring with them. I like your chances, Maureen.
Thank you very much.
So how important are the life science resources of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including those in the Pennsylvania region, specifically Philadelphia, to the success of Actuated Medical? I mean, you recently joined the board of Life Sciences PA, and you've had a chance to better understand the ecosystem for life sciences in Philadelphia. So, what would you say the biggest challenges are in terms of sustaining a vibrant life sciences community as well?
Right. So, I mentioned that we got funding from Ben Franklin. I think Ben Franklin in the southeast corner is very strong, supporting medtech and life sciences companies. And it's so important for these companies to get that seed capital so they can get going and prove feasibility. And then they can get the SBIRs or get the other grants or get investors and things like that. But having that seed funding down there in the Philadelphia region is so important. The other thing is there's R&D tax credits with the state, and we're really pushing to increase the cap on these tax credits. We're hoping that we can get it into the budget, but it's just so important that these companies get financing. And down there in the southeast corner, Life Sciences Pennsylvania, they understand what we need so that we can survive, so that we can bring our products to commercialization or to patients. And it really is the resources down there. And then there's also that networking piece. There's a really strong investment community in the Philadelphia region, and those investors are there supporting the life science industry too.
Thank you.
Maureen, when we first spoke, you mentioned, and I don't think we talked about it in great detail, the clinical studies going on at CHOP,
Hmm.
in which Actuated Medical is participating. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that for our viewers.
Right. So right now we have a tube clear clinical study going on at CHOP. It's sort of in a breaking period. We're at a break right now with COVID, but hopefully it gets started again. But in it, we need to have 20 patients, pediatric patients, tested with the tube clear system. And then that data would then get submitted to the FDA. And so far, we've enrolled 2 patients. So we got 2 of our 20 moving forward. And it's just been a great experience working with the clinicians at CHOP. We also have another SBIR that we're developing with some clinicians at CHOP. And that technology, we're working with respiratory therapists there and also the Pennsylvania Pediatric Medical Device Consortium that's located at CHOP. And in both of those interactions, we're really working with some incredible clinicians that really want to make things better for their patients.
That's great. There are a number of people, including a number of guests that we've had on the show, who are people that are in one career, but they became expert in a particular type of technology, and they're thinking about starting a company, developing a company around, the technology that they're familiar with and they've been working with. I'm wondering what advice you have for folks who might be trying to decide whether or not to start their own company around such technology.
Right. So I have 2 points to that. So the first one really is it takes a village, right? So build your network and make sure that you have mentors that are working with you that support you. Make sure you're talking to investors in the community. But the other part to that is all about persistence. If your gut is telling you you have a great device and you can make a difference, then go for it. But I want to say, get ready for the roller coaster, because bringing life science products to market, you have some up days and some down days. And I hope for all of you, you have more up days than down days.
Maureen, earlier you referenced the chip shortage and how that sort of affected you guys. Can you talk a little bit about what that's meant to you in the industry, please?
Yeah, actually, it's a significant issue. I'm on the Life Science PA board, and I'm on the AvaMed board too. And so the medical device, so I can talk from the medical device side. So the medical device side is about 1% of the chip industry, right? Automotive is huge. And so as these chips are coming, they're going to cars and they're going to different other groups, but they really need to come to med tech and to other life science companies. So think about my product. So I right now, until April of 2023, have 62 clear control boxes. After that, I cannot get chips until next April. Or with NeuroGlider, I have 20. And that means I can't sell any more NeuroGliders until April after I sell these 20. So how do you run a business around this? But if you want to think about the medical device community as a whole, it's a huge problem, because these chips are in all the ventilators. These chips are in the reprocessing equipment. They're in the sterilization systems. So think about it. If we can't reprocess equipment in the hospitals because they can't get the chips to keep the reprocessors working, how are we going to treat patients? Or if these ventilators, we don't have enough chips for these ventilators, how are we going to take care of these patients? And so the chip shortage in the life science industry is detrimental to patient care, to patient outcomes. And we just really need a very large voice. And the administration is working. They are trying to do something. But we really do need these chip manufacturers to understand that the life science industry needs these chips now. We can't wait. And taking care of our patients in hospitals is more important than a car on the road.
This is a story I've not seen in great detail yet. I appreciate you bringing this to the forefront.
Yeah, it's actually scary in a way, right? Think about that. All the things in the hospital that require these chips, and we're only 1%, so we're not a market driver.
Wow. Maureen, we probably have maybe 30 seconds, so I'm going to ask you a personal question. Aside from your Life Sciences PA Entrepreneur of the Year award, which of your many other awards and acknowledgments are you most proud?
Oh, great question. In 2017, I was a U.S. delegate to the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in India. I got to go to India, represent the United States, and it was an incredible experience. And so it was such an honor to go and then represent the U.S.
That's great, and congratulations. And we are out of time. So I want to thank our special guest this evening, Dr. Maureen Mulvihill. Maureen, thank you so much. You were terrific. Charlie, thank you as well for co-hosting. You were great as always. The next guest on Money Matters is Lucinda Duncalf, who's the CEO of Above Board, an inclusive executive hiring platform. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time.